Well, hey guys, wanted to load up some 32 gauge buckshot for you. All I got's number 4 buck that'll fit in it. Got a few loaded up already. Fold crimp. Very simple loads to put together. Now, before we get to loading, I want to clear up a couple things I mentioned in the video I did with the gun, shooting it and stuff. I said that you can load it up to 11/16 ounce. No, it goes heavier. You can load it up to 3/4, even probably 7/8, I'd imagine, with powder like Little Gun, H110, Alliant 410, maybe Unique, possibly. Universal Clays is a good powder. No, International Clays, I think's what it was. It's either Universal or International, I can't remember. But one of those two. You can get some heavy loads, heavy, in 32 gauge. This is the gun. You can load up to 1 ounce with black powder or Pyrodex. This gun's got a 30-inch barrel on it, full choke. Pretty rare gun. Pretty nice looking gun if you ask me. If you're watching this video in early February 2021, there are actually three 32 gauge shotguns on Gunbroker right now. They got 2 American Arms double barrel over under 32 gauge. These were made in the 90s. They are modern guns. Very cool guns. Some people are a little iffy on the quality of them, but from what I've seen, they're pretty decent guns. The other one is an H&R rifled barrel. Technically a tranquilizer gun, but it is chambered with 32 gauge shot shells. They aren't terribly expensive. They sell for well under $1,000 when you can find them. This one seller on Gunbroker happens to have 2 32s and a 24. I'm hoping to get that 24. That will make 2 for me. I love the 24 gauge. I also love 32 gauge. But I guess that's enough of that. Let's get to loading. Pretty simple load here. All you'll need is new prime Shadot hulls. Once fired Fiocchi's also work if you got them. Once fired Federal, Rio, just whatever you got. You don't have to fold crimp these, but I do on my reload all. I'll show you how I do that. Also pretty simple. If you want to fold crimp them, you also need the, let me get it real quick, little Skeeters 20 gauge to 32 gauge chamber adapter. You just slide your shell right in here, goes in your 20 gauge shotgun. Works great. You'll need 32 gauge nacho cards. See the 3 sections? If my camera will focus. Tear that into 3. SG 32 wad available from Ballistic products. Long shot powder. Scaled away your powder. And of course, the number 4 buckshot. Number 3 and possibly number 2 would work also. This is a cylinder bore on 32 gauge is .526. Yeah, I just checked it. It is .526. Some sources say .524, but number 2 buck might just work. I'll have to get a mold and try that out myself though. One last thing you'll need is a Mech 28 gauge crimp starter. And you'll need to start the crimp by hand. You can use a small rubber mallet. What I use is a, let me get it right here. It's a fret hammer for knocking frets into guitars. Also called a dead blow hammer. You can use that if you, you know, have wrist issues or you just can't get it to close very well. You can use that to help you along. Just a few good gentle taps and it'll get it. So like I said, guys, this is pretty easy to put together. You want to start off by just grabbing your SG32 wad. I'll show you where to cut it. Alright. If the brightness will play along. Let me get it for my shirt. That ain't going to work either, but hopefully you'll see what I'm doing here. Shot cup. Right there you can see it. This ladder section, get rid of the shot cup in the first section. And you're left with basically an elongated gas seal. I'm sorry guys, this is just, iPhones are not good for recording videos in the house. it seems. Anyway, take the other one, do the same. Hack the shot cup off and the first little ladder shaped section. There you go. Next, set the 2 shot cups aside. You don't need those. I do hang on to those for heavier loads. I cut off the just the midsection out of the wad and put the shot cup right back on it, like them federal target loads do. One section of the gas seal. There's the other 2. Set those aside, end your wads. Now you want to weigh out your powder. Haul on the scale, it'll zero out by itself. Set it to grains, of obviously. Long shot, 12 to 12.5. Runs between 1200 and 1250, depends on if you use that extra half grain or not. 14, a little bit over. 11, a little bit under. Weighing this little of a powder charge with a long shot by hand can be challenging. Got it. Really wish I could get me some blue dye. That would be great for 32 gauge. Imagine you can push a 5/8 ounce load at 1350, 1400 FPS. I know with green dot, you can load up a half ounce load, 1350, no problem. Make sure these are both. Yep. We are good to go. Oh, by the way, this is a 5/8 ounce load, 14 pellets of number 4 buck. And we will be buffering it. I forgot to mention, you'll if you want to buffer it, you'll need whatever buffer you like. I use Ballistic Products Original. Could use 47. Could use precision reloading. Flaxseed. No heavy shot uses flaxseed in their steel loads. Both wads are in. Zero your scale back out, set it to ounces, grab the number 4 buckshot. I just toss them in my hand. Don't put that in your way. One, two, three. These stacked by 2. Very loosely by 2. That's why I wish I had number 2 or 3 buckshot. But doing what I can with what I got. That should be 14 pellets. We're right at 1 5/8 ounce. 0.67 it says on my scale. Put these back in the bottle they came out of. I just keep forgetting stuff, guys. Also, if you want to, you can roll crimp the hull after you fold crimp it, just to make it seal look a little bit neater. You don't need to. But we got our buckshot in. Make sure it's down. I guess I can show you. Hopefully I don't spill them out this time. Yep, spilled it out. That's okay, we'll just grab another pellet. Always seem to do that. Alright, where is my buffer? There it is. One day I'll show you guys my setup. I got a lot of stuff. Set that out of your way. This usually comes to 0.68 ounces. The buffer doesn't add hardly any weight, to 0.69 sometimes. Alright. Still 0.68, hardly added any weight at all. 0.001 of an ounce. 0.01 of an ounce. Alright. Now, You become the press here. Again, 28 gauge crimp starter from Mech. You just want to press that by hand. Having trouble seeing this. It's dark and I ain't got my glasses on. Line it back up with the crimp lines in there. I'll show you guys what I mean with the mallet. You don't hit it very hard because you will crush that hole just enough to... There you go. See? Help it along. Now what you want to do, you won't be able to see what I'm doing here, but push it in against a flat surface. That really helps. See that right there? That looks just like it came out of the Mech. Pre-crimp station really helps it. Now what you want to do, these are expensive. I think they're like 60 bucks, something like that. For you get 2 of them though. Slide it in there. Take your primer door off because you'll need that. Set this up in there right like that, and then primer door under the chamber adapter, and then just go slow. Check it. I need something to push this out with. Sharpie. You also need a Sharpie. There you go. Not the best looking crimp, but it works. Alright. Let's move on to the other one now. I'm only going to load 2 because I don't want to eat up all your guys' time. You see what I'm doing? I keep forgetting to check if you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Oops. One more. 0.67, right on the dot. Hope them found their way. Hopefully I don't spill them out this time. Almost did. Alright. Seems like this one takes exactly 1 full dipper of the 0.22 cc dipper. Yep, exactly 1 dipper. Overshot card, again, nitro card separated into 3 sections. Right on top, there you go. Mech 28 gauge pre-crimp. Could use a little bit more. I'm gonna use the mallet again. That looks great. Now, notice, see the shape of this right here? Now, look what it looks like after I push it in against the flat surface. Much more rounded, crimped in a little bit. Where did I put? There it is. I'm always losing stuff over here. Oh, this is the 16 gauge press, by the way. The 12 gauge press, the primer seating punch will not fit in the chamber adapter. It only takes a little bit of pressure to close that crimp up. This one came out nice. I put way too much pressure on that first one. I'll show you comparison. It'll still shoot just fine. Roll crimper will help it, but see the second one right here looks a lot better than the first. I could probably pry that crimp back up and just redo it. But yeah. Actually, let's try that out. Just gotta find my needle nose pliers. Opened it right back up. Now, let's try crimping that again. Wind it up. Press it down. flat surface, chamber adapter. Oh, this will also resize your holes, by the way. Yeah, that came out much better that time. Still ain't perfect. I could probably stand to use another overshot card in it. I put way too much pressure on that first go around with that crimp. But oh well, it'll shoot just the same. Again, I'm gonna roll crimp this. I'll show you guys that in just a second. Gotta switch it out from the 16 gauge one. But that wraps up the loading. I'll show you what it looks like after I roll it. Stay tuned, guys. Ballistic Products 32 gauge roll crimper. Not many companies out there make a 32 or 24 gauge roll crimper. Ballistic Products covers every gauge, 8 gauge down to 410. 410 is really a bore. Tighten it up with my chuck. This already has oil in it because I was using it earlier today. Alright. This is going to be loud, and yes, I know I need to get a drill press, but I don't have the room for it. I have so much stuff in this little space. Like the old saying goes, got 10 pounds of feed in a 5-pound sack. Yep, that fixed it, for the most part. This one right here really don't need any work at all, but I'm gonna roll it anyway. I apologize if you guys can't really make that out too well. But, there you go. Show you these, will chamber and eject just fine in the shotgun. Again, fingers away from that trigger. That roll underneath our kitchen table. We'll angle this one here up more. Try to catch it. But there you go. Chambers and ejects just fine. I'll give you my thoughts on 32 gauge here. A lot of people call this the 32 gauge little mouse gun. Can't kill nothing with it. Worse ballistics than a 410. You can get better loads than a 410. I don't agree with any of that. The 410, it shoots the same 2.5 ounce load. They're both the standard load. 410 and 32 are half ounce. But the 32 shoots it at a much higher velocity and at a lower chamber pressure because it is, it's a lot bigger than a 410 hole. Do I got one up there? Yes. Just to show you, this is a 3-inch. But look at this. Line them up. 32 gauge is quite a bit bigger than 410. Again, this is 52 caliber, roughly 50 caliber on a, well, 495 on a full choke. This is 41 caliber. I think it's 385, 387 for a full choke. But yeah, anyway, you may be able to get the same payloads with a 3-inch 410 than you can with a 32 gauge. But again, you're going to get a lot higher velocity with a 32 gauge and a lot lower chamber pressure. And the 32 gauge can be pushed up to 1 ounce with black powder or Pyrex, like I said earlier. And smokeless goes as high as 3/4 ounce. From what I've seen and what I've learned from other people that own this, not many people own 32 gauge. It's pretty rare. But I think that 32 gauge has a lot more potential than 410 does. I'd imagine with TSS shot, Mylar wrap, 32 gauge would be an awesome turkey gun. I doubt anyone's done that before. I'm kind of wanting to get into that myself. I got a friend, pretty good friend of mine. He's About to order him up some TSS shot for his 10 gauge. Take that turkey hunting. That should be pretty interesting. Oh, speaking of that, got myself over 100 10 gauge hauls here recently. Picked him up box 2. Got these fairly cheap, and it's looking like we got a pretty decent supply of these. Anyways, moving back to 32 gauge. This buckshot load here, number 4 buck, this is moving around 1250. I'd imagine within 30 yards, you could drop a white-tailed deer with this, no problem. I mean, if you can drop it with a 20 gauge with not many more pellets than this, you can do it with a 32 gauge. Slugs. You want to run a 50 caliber slug, pure lead, for 32 gauge. That's full bore slug. I had some. I haven't put away now, but at least with my Stevens, for a Sabo slug, you know, inside the shot cup, you want to run 427 caliber. I have a mold custom made for me from Accurate Molds. It drops a 50 caliber 230 grain and a 427 caliber. It's a 210 grain, and I can push both of those up over 1,300 feet per second, almost 1,400. I'm sure I can give you higher than that. I don't run my 32 gauge high pressure at all. You could probably run it 12.5, just like a 28 gauge, 410 even. I just don't run my loads that hot because I don't want to damage this gun. I don't think I ever would, because you know, that barrel ain't really all that thin or nothing. I've seen thinner on 410. But in case something ever does happen to it, I'll never be able to replace it. Not in case, I should say, if something ever happens to it, which I don't think it will. Anyway, I just don't run my loads very hot. They're fast, they're not super high pressure though. Anyway, you can get 41 Magnum, even close to 44 Magnum with the slugs in a 32 gauge. That's pretty stout amount of energy. I know it's well over 1,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy anyway, from what I've calculated. You can run a little bit over 300 grain slugs with this, probably even higher with black powder or Pyrex. I need to do a lot more experimenting with this. I have, let's see, I'll show you guys here. We've got a lot of stuff to experiment with in 32 gauge. I got these Hornady Great Plains bullet. Yeah. 385 grain, black powder. I can load those up, and I have some Hornady 50 caliber saboed, just, you know, muzzle loader projectiles. Let me get this one right here. Yeah. These two are the Great Plains bullets, loaded up, roll crimped with, that one's got smokeless powder. It is long shot. I have determined this one here is probably not a good idea to shoot, so that one just sits up on my shelf for display. I'm gonna mark it, do not shoot on it, on the base. Just, yeah, mark the primer black, so I know never to shoot it. This one here is black powder. Hefty charge of it, almost halfway up the hull. It's a square load though. That should be a pretty stout load. Set this back down. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry guys, I've rambled on and on and on. I just like talking about, you know, obscure stuff like this. A lot more experiment with the 32 gauge I've got to do. Probably take you guys along with me, update you on my results. I think I'm gonna end this one here, guys. Yeah, that's all about all I gotta say. I know I've been rambled on a lot in this video, but it's past 4 a.m. I'm super tired. About this time of night, morning, it's about the only time I have to record videos. I'm alone in the house, you know, wife's asleep. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now. I probably ran your ear off. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you. Stay tuned for the next one.